Welcome back, episode 47 of the Ground Up Podcast.
We got together a really, really good group of people and we hit the slopes.
I don't think there's a better way to get to know other developers than just going on a social trip like that.
I learned so much from the other guys of how they got to where they were, the good things they've done, the mistakes they've made.
Take you 10 years sometimes to get to know a friend that well, but in a trip, in an enclosed environment, you sort of come away feeling like your brothers.
Some of the conversations that come up in the hot tub, they can't be repeated.
More of a lace man or a silk man? Man.
You're on death row, yeah? What's the last meal you're going to have?
I love a dirty Chinese.
What a way to die. Property development, which is obviously inherently stressful. You got kids at home, or you got a missus to appease, things like that. How do you balance that?
You should always be the hardest worker in the room.
What does the world need more of? Does it need more people who work really hard and don't find time to enjoy themselves? Or does it need people who really enjoy life and enjoy the moment? Stuart seem to have the best balance.
So when you're working, I have to come back one sec.
Ground up sound, ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down, let's get those deals. Deals, deals, making money, baby.
Welcome back, episode 47 of the Ground Up Podcast. We have full house. We got Mr. Dorian Payne looking a bit sunburnt. We got Jack Jiggs. Mr. Jack, seen you for a week or two.
I've been home alone holding the fort down. I've got massive FOMO. You three have been away and Ben's been away.
And Stuart wife, of course. And
Morning.
myself, Brian Beaumont. So myself, Dee, and Stu went on a group skiing and snowboarding holiday for the last week. It was maybe a bit too much of a middle class resort for Jack. He prefers places like Courchevel and stuff like that, so he wouldn't come on this one. But yeah, it definitely had a bit of FOMO not coming, but it was sick. So we're going to cover a little bit of that at the start of this, and that's going to lead us into a bit of a work-life balance thing, which is something we did speak about quite a lot on the trip. So we went with a load of property developers. Dee hosted the trip. We'll get into all of that in a minute. The rest of this podcast, we're going to be talking about a bit of work-life balance, which is super crucial if you're a developer, because it can literally consume your whole being. And also, there's been some crazy stuff that's happened just in the markets over the last week or two as well. Like, it's been so active, it's insane. And we're not going to cover a great deal of that today, but we'll definitely go into a bit of detail. So enjoy the episode. Big love. Subscribe. Let's get tucked in to the last week. Well, you know what, Dee, you hosted it. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown, mate? How do you think it went?
Yeah, sure. So obviously I've been on quite a lot of ski trips and there's always been like, even on this one, there's always things to improve. But ultimately this year, decided to just run one ourselves. Obviously, networks. I've had people reaching out over the years who have gone on ski trips asking, are you going on one this year and stuff like that. And to be fair, if it was left to me, I wouldn't have done it. But fortunately, I have a good team, good resource who were able to, do it for me. So I just tabled the idea. It's like, because somebody mentioned to me, he said, "Oh, are you doing anything this year, like ski?" And then I just raised it to my team. And oh yeah. Well, we can organise that. We can run that. So then I just left it, and so I can't really explain how little I did, other than a Instagram story, and some of them I didn't even do. And yeah, we got together. Fortunately, a really, really good group of people from across the country. Obviously, Ryan and Stuart included, and we hit the Val d'Isere Teens slopes, and it was really good. It turned out really well, didn't it? It was a chalet, 14 of us in total. Chalet, I think it was like whatever it was, 5 days skiing, and we had so much fun. There's constant conversations. There was food, drink. It's just, what else could you ask for, really? But you guys obviously were the guests, so you're from an organisation point of view. I can't really, unfortunately, give any key tips because it was delegated.
Yeah, man. She done a great job with it as well.
Yeah, shout out to Mia planning the trip. But I've got some photos. I wanted to get some more, and I was searching for the group chat, but I've got some bits of the trip. A lot of après. There was quite a lot of après. More après than I thought we'd do. Après, yeah, we tried to stick together. We sort of split off into a couple of different groups with different skill levels and stuff like that. We also took a nice dip, a few of us, into the ice cold water to start one of the days. We were all a bit
really
sore.
cold.
It was cold.
Yeah.
It was a cleanse though, wasn't it? Just sore joints, nice little soother.
I could feel my skin tearing getting out of the hot tub, walking to the sauna. I was like, this is freezing. Doing that, walking down the river, I was like, no, I'm doing that.
It was nice though, mate. It was a nice wake up. Yeah, for the benefit of the viewers, I'm showing pictures at the moment. By the way, a couple pictures of the trip. Went out, did some dinners. We actually had a last dinner planned for the Saturday night before we went, but we were all at a party, and it just went a bit too long, and we just cancelled it at the point of the booking.
But there was 2 people that didn't come to the Apri, so we went to this little club and we were on the stage and we're dancing, and it's like, food's cancelled. But we forgot to tell 2 of them. So they've gone to this nice posh restaurant. They've sat down. They waited for like half an hour for us all to turn up. Great fun.
Yeah, well, no, because it was the dinner was 7:30 and everybody was there ready, and it was like you said, Stu, the 2 there, and I also went outside the like club waiting, and then the phone came up. It was 7:30, and it was like didn't take long. It was like fuck the dinner.
Oh yeah, but we did some dinners out, and we also just had great chats and like board games and poker, Monopoly, bits of that in the chalet, getting to know everyone as well. That's good vibes.
Who's that European footballer wearing a hairband there?
Mate, honestly, and you get out of the shower and you don't want to do your hair. I hate it going in my face. So I just take it with me all the time just to flick it out. Once it's dry, I take it out and it doesn't flop down in front of my face. But yeah, it's great. We've done Monopoly, we've done Risk, we've done poker. It didn't matter what 3 people you got with as well. You always had great chat, and there was always a different blend and a different story. And we done like 1% talking about business, actually, like technicalities of business. But most of it was mindset and what makes us tick, and it's just great.
Yeah, I learned so much from the other guys of how they got to where they were, the good things they've done, the mistakes they've made, where they're going, how life has changed for them, what's their priorities, and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, it was some really good, interesting people, and like some people I've never met before, but they've been following on Instagram and some seeing stuff we've doing. Like Daniel, for example, street turnip. We didn't know anybody, but he was great. He was such a good.
Turn up. I mean, I knew like half the group almost, or just under half the group. So I just turned up like I was going on a friend trip. So I didn't bother me. I just had a few new friends, but yeah, 2 or 3 of them just turned up, didn't know anyone, and just got themselves stuck in.
I found Sean so funny.
Oh, Sean's fucking hilarious, mate.
Oh,
So I
he's
met him at a
so
networking event.
funny.
I'm working at a networking event. He asked me to come down on one of his podcasts, brought me to his house. I knew him for an hour, and I turned up. As soon as I saw him, it's like I've known him my whole life. Like he's just such a geezer. Great fun.
We
So
we
funny.
got lucky. We got lucky that everyone was sound. There wasn't one like rotten apple or anything.
And some of these people now, the one best thing about going on these trips, because obviously, like I said, I've been on ski trips for the past 8 years, and recently, last year, something came up where one of my first contacts from all those years ago, it came like you never really lose contact with those people. You always know them, and then if it ever comes up. So, but we're going to hold Sean to hosting a reunion barbecue in the summer at his house, so that'll be fun.
Yeah,
He's got a backyard development. So he does sort of like high end, small unit developments, and yeah, he's got a backland development. Built his dream house. Got a nice studio, gym, bar. He's got a natural pool in the garden as well, which is quite cool. So he's got all the lily pads and stuff in there, but the birds shit in it is what he's saying. So he's got to keep it clean. But the girls as well, we had Sophie, Mia, and Honor, who didn't know each other as well, so a mixed group, and they all seemed to really gel, and everyone's got on with each other. It was really good.
well, I'll show one of the Cocoricos.
Jack, you're coming next year, mate. You were there in spirit. We talked a lot about the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, I could only blag one ski trip a season, so
You got to choose wisely next year, mate.
We like this bar. What was it? Cocorico at the bottom of the fucking, what was it called? Val d'Isere, bottom of the Red Run. And this is Honor, my fiance, and Sophie, Dorian's sister. And there was these barrels, and I was trying to find the video of Jim. Jim's one of our good friends who's a developer, and he was so pissed one of the nights. He was up on one of the barrels just going nuts. Oh, Jack, you'd have loved it, mate. Jim was off his shit. It was so funny. But also,
He's already 7 foot tall, so if you put him on top of a barrel as well, he'd probably be touching the roof.
oh mate, drunk Jim is so good. But also, mate, Dee and Sophie, the Paynes siblings, they love a boogie. This guy would not stop getting off. We're at the apres on the tables, at Cocoricos, he's on the barrels. Like,
Bearing in
Dee,
mind, Dorian and I don't drink, right? Dorian is just like he's pissed all the time.
you love a boogie, don't you?
I don't know what. I've always kind of been like that. I've never really. Alcohol's not very good for me, so I don't drink, and as the guys know. So I've been sober for a long time, but I really don't need it. I can just whatever it is, the atmosphere. I guess it just takes over, and then I think you're right, Stu. Sometimes it's then borderline. You feel like quite placebo,
It's the placebo, isn't it? when you're in that
Yeah.
environment for so many years, when you don't drink, and everyone's getting pissed around you, your brain still goes with it. It's so weird. It's like you walk out of a club at like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, 9:30 when they were closing out there, and like you still feel like a bit wobbly and stuff. It's mad, but you don't wake up with a hangover. But it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
great fun. And the more you drink in clubs and stuff where you feel like you'll be socially awkward, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. No one gives a fuck, if you're drinking or not towards the end, especially the alcohol-free beers and stuff.
Everybody around you is getting hammered. So if you're the sober, making a fool of yourself dancing, no one is gonna remember like some of the things that were coming up. And I remember everything because obviously so like you, Stu, I remember every part of it really. And then in the next morning, I'm relaying like dropping like little bits of conversations that happened to other people, and they're just looking at me like, "What are you on about?" Like, I was thinking, "All right, yeah, yeah, forgot you were smashed."
Honor did that yesterday on the way back. She showed me some photos of that last night at Coca Rico, and I was like, "What was that?" I was like,
Mate,
I did
you
what?
were wobbly. You were
No,
wobbly on the way out, right? Roy doesn't
fucking
drink
wobbly.
lots either. He's like 7 or 8
Mate,
pints
it
in,
was
mate, and a bit
Danny.
of cold
It was
air, and he's
fucking
fucking
Danny. Let me give you some
Totally
background
honest.
here, yeah? So Danny, who came on the trip as well, Romanian Danny, contractor in London, does like high-end construction stuff. Lovely guy. He didn't know anyone
Mate,
coming,
diamond.
and he was absolute gem. And but whenever we went out, he'd get the drinks in straight away, and he got me a few drinks over the trip. So I was getting him some drinks as well. And basically, we just kept giving each other drinks that night, and we just kept having beers float around. Then he got a load of Jaeger bombs, and just all of a sudden, I was just off my shit, but having a great time. And then we went to that bar afterwards, didn't we, to go get some food, and I just couldn't eat, so I just stood outside. I was just breathing in cold air for about 30 minutes, just like sobering up. I couldn't hack it,
Well,
man.
I walked back myself and just had a pizza in a bus stop, basically in the middle of the night, and it was. But I think the best if anybody listening, if you're ever considering going on like a whether it's a property kind of trip, whether it's local or abroad, and maybe you're by yourself and you don't have anybody to go with, I've just say just do it because all the ones I used to go on, I used to go by myself, so I knew that by the end of it, like I remember now, some of the people when they first came on the trip, like they didn't really know many people, quite quiet. By the end of it, you're literally like family, aren't you? It's funny, it's crazy.
It feels like a school trip's like going like over. Like at the end, you're kind of like, "Aw, like school trip's over. We've got to go home now. Boring." But we'll do it again. We'll do it again. But yeah,
Well,
it was a
we should
sick
employ
trip.
me to do a ground up one, mate. That's what we need to do. Yeah, we can all get the date.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we need to do. We need to get like a 30-person catered chalet.
Oh,
It'll be
there you
wild,
go.
mate. So yeah, if you're listening, comment below and we'll send you some details. We'll definitely get that sorted next year. Got to be done.
That'd be naughty. But yeah, anyway, there'll be some videos on our socials. We'll do a couple little videos of the trip and stuff like that. But most importantly, the reason we kind of wanted to bring this up as well, not only for the networking part, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't think there's a better way to get to know other developers like that intimately than just going on a social trip like that, compared to like say a networking forum in a room or in a boardroom or something like that and chatting. You get to know everyone really intimately. And it was refreshing to get to know new people. I wasn't aware that I was going to get to know new people coming on the trip until we got on the trip and went, actually, yeah, there's like 6 people here that I don't know. They didn't really know anyone, and within like 24 hours, everyone knew everyone. And then we just had a great time. So it's a cool thing to do.
But you know everyone intimately, like because you've got such a short period of time together. You don't waste any time at all. You get to know how everyone ticks and
Yeah.
what makes them get up in the morning and what they've had their biggest problems, their biggest challenges. It's almost like 24-hour interviewing. It's just at a
Yeah.
different level and speed where it take you 10 years sometimes to get to know a friend that well. But in a trip, in an enclosed environment, you sort of come away feeling like you're fucking brothers or sisters or whatever at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
great.
some of the conversations that come up in the hot tub and the sauna or in
Yeah,
the
sauna.
nightclubs, they can't be repeated on. Do you know what I mean? They just and you'll never. It would take you years of a friendship to get those types of conversations
Some of the
out.
stuff coming up was like if you had to choose a music an album, your last if you're on death row,
Yeah.
right? What's this last food you'd want to eat? The last album you'd listen to and last film you'd watch. There's so many fucking
Well,
crazy
let's
things.
do
Like,
it to
what's
Jack.
what's your
Let's
favorite fabric?
let's do it to
You got it,
Jack.
Jack.
Jack,
What
like you're death
are
row,
you more of
yeah?
a lace man or a silk man, or are you more of a leather man?
Jack, what's your you're on death row, yeah? Death row. What's the last film and the last meal you're gonna have?
I love a dirty Chinese. That's like my vice. Like every few months, I'll just have like the shitter it is, the better. Like the more sugary and crap. If I went high end, you can't beat like a big Chateaubriand for two just to eat on your own with like like a big old steak. So if I went high end, probably a big old steak with some red wine. And then what movie would I watch? Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite movies is Wolf of Wall Street. I just don't think you
Oh
can
yeah, that came
beat
up.
that
Yeah.
movie. It's not very cinematic though, is it? It's just funny.
What about
Um,
album? You got to play an album as well.
Probably a Coldplay or a Mumford, like an old
Oh yeah,
anthem
Mumford and
classic.
Sons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mumford. What a way to die. But anyway, yeah, that's some of the stuff we spoke about. What's funny is over the trip, we did speak a bit about business with everyone, obviously, but we spoke a lot more, probably because of the nature of where we were. We spoke a lot more about like how we live, like and family, and obviously quite a few of the lads had kids, talking about kids and work life balance, and it was quite refreshing, really, to speak a lot more about how we work around property development, not actually the development part itself. And I think that's sort of what inspired us to take, just segueing onto the next part of this podcast, talking a bit about work-life balance, because some of the boys on the trip have it so different to some of the other boys, and like it's just and girls. But it was interesting to see how different people do cope with property development, which is obviously inherently stressful, and you can have some serious, tie-ups of cash flow and things like that. But if you've got kids at home or you've got a missus to appease and things like that, how do you balance that? That I think took up more of the conversation there than actually strategy, property development. What do we do, etc. Which was cool. So let's lead into that then.
We've done a bit of technical. We sort of broke down some businesses and still look at the key bits that make businesses work. But yeah, go on,
And
break
Bitcoin.
into it.
And Bitcoin.
We converted 2 people. There's 3 there, 3 Bitcoiners there, and we had 2 extras that turned.
I think every business there, I kind of, I'm pretty sure we went like under the bonnet, so to speak, on every business there. What was working, what wasn't working, and in their plans and strategies. We definitely did that. But then you're right, because and it's a good thing when you come on like this type of trip, because obviously it is an investment. You don't really go on those types of trip to very specifically get something out of it. You go on it because you've already got a business, you've already got a network, and you just want to get around more like-minded people, just to not necessarily get an answer for anything, but to just get a bit of inspiration from other people from around the country. Really, that's where it's. If you're kind of at that stage, then these trips are really really good for you. But I think, yeah, one after I kind of got to know everyone's business, a lot of it was then really on personal life and stuff. And Stu, what was it like coming back yesterday and walking through the door with the kids there running towards you?
Oh mate, it's mega. Yeah, so Mia helped me find a few presents out there on the last day for the kids, and I promised I'd upload some photos of them, open them. So, oh, it's just amazing, man. I mean, I've never been away from them for that long for both of them since Hudson's been around. So, yeah, it was good. It was lovely to go home, man. And obviously, that warm feeling you can't sort of can't explain, really, can you? It's just
Even more as well than just work-life balance. I think we actually spoke about like our growing up, what our parents were like, and
Yeah,
those
we
sort of
did. Yeah,
things. Like it got quite deep, which was, I don't know. I suppose you really get to know people then, don't you? When you like hear about what their parents were like when they're growing up. Did they have a support network? Did they not have a support network?
like a
Lead.
big counselling session.
It was like a big counselling session. But yeah, so let's touch on to work-life balance then. I have absolutely nothing prepared for this. It got in pretty late last night. The second I landed, it was Honor's mum's birthday. I had to go straight out to that and then get back in for this for a 5:30 a.m. or so. We are on the fly here, guys, for everyone listening. But we thought we'd talk a bit about work-life balance because it ties in nicely, obviously, with doing the ski trip. So does anyone have anywhere to start? If not, then I've got some potential ideas. Actually, Jack, go on. Jack, hit us. Hit us with something.
Quite a family orientated person, I would say. Our family sort of we're definitely the family where we're all in it together and we've all got each other's backs and we spend a lot of contact time together. My sort of my like for an example, my missus is in the US at the moment and I went round my grandma's last Thursday to have fish and chips with her. And that's like that sort of thing is quite important because she's just lost her partner back end of last year, and it's nice. I'm home alone, she's home alone. Let's get together and have fish and chips. And that actually then sort of replicates like love to my mum because she's away at the moment, so she can't be there for my nan. So we're very much sort of all in it together. Where I struggle a little bit with family work-life balance is I just work a lot, like more than the average person, more than, my retired parents or, more than other people around me. So I do find that my networking is fairly, well, my time with people is fairly limited in that respect. And I kind of bundle it all up into, every other weekend or whatever it may be to sort of spend a bit more time around it. Coincidentally, actually yesterday, I went to the rugby at Twickenham with a guy that runs a business. He's an ex England rugby player, an MD of a massive property investment company, and an MD of a massive construction company. And it was really interesting, actually, talking to them about, because they don't know me. So they was like, how does it work with your wife? Why, how's she back at the moment? And how do you deal with that? And I was like, talking about how she, being American, has come over here, doesn't have that network of support people around her, and she's got to lean on me or my family. And it's difficult because I work so much. So I'm not like the person that works from 9 to 5, can take an hour off at lunch to eat lunch with her. I'm very much, I literally say to her, and sometimes I feel a bit bad. Like, if she walks in Henley and I'm in the office, I won't enjoy going out for a coffee because there's just so much going on, and my brain will be elsewhere. So that's where I have to like make real contact time. So every dinner time, there's no phones allowed. Phones have to go upside down so that we are there for that period of dinner. But then I normally get my laptop out and work till midnight on the sofa while she's watching TV. But I think it is important, and I think the reason it is important because it keeps you grounded. I think you can easily get lost in the world that we're in, and a lot of entrepreneurs have obsessive and sort of real dark focus mindset, and quite often it is good to take a step back and go, is that what I want? Learn from that particular situation. Or here he is.
Hello.
Situation or individual. And coincidentally, in the car yesterday on the way back from the rugby, someone was talking about a guy that was running a successful catering business, took a little bit of a leap and bought a local pub, went bankrupt, and then found out he had a brain tumor. And when you hear things like that, you really start to put in perspective of, we've had some really stressful periods over the last few years in our business. And you got to think, what is it all for? And what are you doing it all for? And the last thing you want is to go bust and then have a brain tumor and then be like, what the fuck was that all about? I should have just, been enjoying myself and exploring while you're young, the other end of life and enjoying that period. And hearing those are really, really important. You don't hear those unless you socialize and go out and speak to people and become a little bit more grounded. So I think it's really important. I've probably not allocated enough time to do it. I had to do it more because my wife's been more sort of required of me being the social vice that she has, because she doesn't have a family and friends out here, which is quite important. I'm a massive advocate for, you are like the average of the people around you. That's morals, that's activity, that is, there's certain people that I used to hang around with and I just struggle to hang around with anymore because I just feel bad after. I feel like I haven't, that sounds really selfish. I haven't gained anything, but there's
Energy
people that are
zappers.
pure and genuine. I love those people. There's people that are very driven and entrepreneurial. I love those people. But then there's some people that you kind of swing into their lifestyle where, whether it's, going getting some shit food and just talking about crap. And I come away like, that's so draining. Like, I can't do that every day. And I'd rather, have a clear head, go out for a walk, go to the gym, whatever it may be. And what was also a bit of an eye opener yesterday, and it's all like current stuff, and we can probably go into a bit more detail about how we deal with our social life, is the MD of the big development company, they're like an investment development company. He was saying that he's going to take a couple of months off work with his wife on their something like 30th wedding anniversary, and that both their 60th birthdays. And 2 years ahead, he's had to manage shareholders' expectations to go away for 2 months. And I'm thinking, we actually have loads of flexibility in our company at the moment. If I wanted to go away for 2 months, I could go away and part work for 2 months. And I don't need to get any approval. I don't really even need to give notice. If I needed 2 months away, I'd take 2 months away. And having that flexibility in our work is amazing. And it's something that I don't really take advantage of. I'm normally just grinding and absolutely getting shit done. But yeah, I would say I'm fortunate that all of my family live in with like a mile radius. That I can walk to my brother's house. I eventually will be able to walk to my sister's house. My parents only live like a mile away. We're like a super close network, and we've always been super close. And coincidentally, I feel that COVID actually brought us a bit closer together because we all went back to pretty much our sort of family home. So over that sort of 1 year period, it really did bring us a bit closer because my dad was, he would happily say himself, he wasn't really there in the upbringing of us being kids. He was very, very much working and away. So bringing that together was quite imperative to make us a little bit more sort of well-rounded as a family. And like, if I get 2 tickets spare to somewhere, the first thing I think of is who's free in my family. I don't think who's free in my friends or who else can I put it on social media. I'll always just go to that immediate network first. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, man, I love that. Love that. I think I definitely resonate with being close with family now. Although I'm really shit. I don't know about you guys, but I'm great with my mum, dad, brothers, but my extended family, my grandparents and my cousins. Honestly, I've not seen some of them in 5 to 10 years, and I still love them. I just haven't seen them in ages, just because of geography, working, things like that, and they're down in Somerset, and I've just not. And I should probably make more of an effort, but I can never find the right time to like do it, or the right mental space. You've always got time, really, haven't you? You've always got time to do these kind of things, but it's finding the mental space to go, cool, this weekend I'm going to take it off. I'm going to go down there, see my grandparents, do the rounds, and then come back up. And I just can't push myself over that edge to do it. But if they live locally, I'd probably see them more. But Stuart, definitely over the trip, when we were talking about all this kind of stuff, I think it was clear and obvious from all of the other guys who'd even were only just getting to know everyone, that Stuart seemed to have the best balance of work and life and family and stuff like that.
Well, it come up a few times, but I don't. If you ask my wife that, she would never say I've got a perfect work-life balance. I mean, I do value it. I'm turning 40 in literally like 18 days time. So, and I do feel
Woohoo!
like your perspective changes as you go older. Like going through 30s, 40s, and 50s. I think I want to be looking at retirement at 50 because I don't want my knees to be going at 60, 65. And you're at a different part of life where Dorian's very much in the growth stage. You know, he's killing it already, but he wants to obviously be 4, 5, 6 times bigger than he is, which is fair enough. But yeah, there's a half the group were really on their laptops working all hours, first thing in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And the other half of the group really weren't doing a lot. And to be honest, I didn't do anything. I just, the team I've got in the office knew I was away. I got a WhatsApp, and then about 20 minutes later, don't worry, it's been sorted. So I didn't really tell my staff I was going away either. So I don't like to rub it too much in on social media until the weekend. So just leave it until the weekend's there. But no, it was a nice group. I just think that a lot of that would come down to systems and being comfortable at the size. As you scale up and scale down, scale up, scale down, you get to a point where actually you value the time on the planet a bit more than trying to take another 15 loft fitters on, try and increase another £1 million worth of revenue. That comes with a load more hassle, which in terms of the profit you're going to create, is it really going to change my life tremendously? By having another 200 grand a year coming in, 300 grand a year, what's it for? I still want to grow, but I want to grow at a pace where, I said to Dorian, like, if you try to take your 5 days and then split it into half and actually reclaim 2.5 days for family time, and you only had to work within 2.5 days of the week to free up that time, you could do it. I mean, that's how Elon Musk and Bezos and all that do it. Is they compress everything down to decisions and have such a power team around them. One of the young ladies who arranged this trip, she was fantastic. She is one arm of Dorian's business, and she's fairly new, and she didn't feel like she deserves a promotion where she's done such a good job at organising. And Dorian and me, they clearly got a very, very good relationship where I think Dorian could lean and trust her. A bit like I've got Megan in the office, right? She's been with me 11 years. And she knows so much about the strategy of where we're going that she filters out all the noise and just has full access to my diary and makes sure that even down to emails, I don't really do emails because I don't want to be sitting there at a mailbox just waiting for stuff to come in. She will analyze it and the office will analyze it. And then any sort of actionable things will go in as a calendar entry with, you need to attack these 3 or 4 things, or these are the problems we've got to do, or these are some sales you need to work on. So it just allows me to not have to constantly looking at my emails and being dialed in all the time. So yeah, there's just things but then again, I'm not in full growth mode like Dorian. So, but I still think if he had a really good assistant or someone who knows the business so intricately that they know the next big 5, 6 steps into the strategy, and anything that doesn't fit that path, they just bin off and go, no, this is not right for now.
Jack, can you help us on this? Because me and Stu were trying to badger Dorian, saying, "You need a PA, you need a PA, you need a PA." But Dee's like, "I don't need one. I'll know when I need one. I'll want one."
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be the first hire, personally. I mean, Dorian does tend to have, because so the difference between my business and Dorian's business is his direct reports are management, whereas we don't have middle management. So I have 15 people that report directly into me. They do have a side direct person. So one of our surveyors reports into our lead surveyor. If they've got a problem, they'll come to me. Like, I need the afternoon off, or got problems at home, they will directly come into me. Whereas Dorian's much bigger work outfit, so he's got middle management in place, which probably means he has got more free time than
Yeah.
some of us from a HR people management perspective. I mean, a PA is a no brainer for me. I actually share my EA with Ben, and I think at some point I just need it full time just for me. Ben doesn't think he'll need that because he's only got a few direct reports into him. So he's got the MD, the like managing architect lead from Aura leads into him, that no one else. And then he's only got the PMs that come through XP. Everyone else reports into me because I'm in the office every day. So I feel that it depends what you're doing in a business. Some seniors don't need PAs, but I definitely think it's worthy. Interestingly, talking about balance, my mate Johnny, who works in Amazon FBA sales, he's absolutely crushing it. He's basically really, really technical, and he basically builds coded systems to run his business for him. So his business is so intelligent that he's not really running it; the tech is running it. So he's got a warehouse with a warehouse manager. All the tech orders all the supplies and gets it shipped out, and the warehouse all they've got to do is fulfill it and get it out the door. Because he's and he would admit before anyone else, he's a bit socially awkward. He's a really close friend of mine, and he just doesn't work well in a company. He said, like, when I'm in, it's less efficient. He's better if he's away and it sort of runs itself. And he's probably set to turn over, I don't know, 4 million this year in his Amazon reselling business. But he doesn't live in the UK really because he doesn't need to be in the company. He obviously accrues so many Avios and points on his purchasing power that he can literally travel the world, and he has been. He's been traveling the world for years. And coincidentally, when you say like the work-life balance, he literally said to me Saturday, he's just got back from Japan. He was like, "I'm sick of traveling. I'm so sick of it. I just want to be home for a bit and work." And like that is the epitome of like work-life balance in the wrong direction. Like he's so sick of traveling. Something that you do so much, he's just done with it, and he just wants
Crazy routine, yeah, just and home life and the nest and
Well, Dorian, what do you say then? Work-life balance.
My mindset as right now, as it has been for all of my 20s and late teens, and as right now, I've got a large goal of what I'm trying to get to, but I don't, and it does dominate my thinking, and it is kind of like my north star of what I'm trying to do. But also, you guys were around me for a week. You could see that I wasn't on my laptop first thing in the morning and late at night, and I was engaged and I was around people, and that's just because exactly what Jack said. The size of my company is at the stage now where typically where a task comes in, I automatically go into delegation mode anyway, and have done for years. So each division will be responsible for key things. So if something comes in, I'm filtering it to them. What I don't yet have, what you're saying, Stu, is that other yet barrier to who already knows where all of these tasks got to go to. So I don't necessarily have to do the tasks, only if they're really critical or they're key things, which obviously any like CEO or MD would have to do. But I am the one dishing them out to individuals, being like, boom, this gotta get done. No, just forwarding it and just like, can you deal with this? Can you deal with that? Can you deal with this? Can you deal with that? That's what I do. And then I have quite a structured meeting routine with all of my heads of divisions. I have a very structured reporting system which compiles into a complete monthly report for the company, which then I give that to my other shareholders. And and I don't get, because this was because years ago I remember me talking about it, Jack. I was tracking my time and I was spending a lot of my time in ops, and I wanted to spend most of my time in strategic. And nowadays I spend most of my time in strategic and finance. The finance is because obviously the business needs my attention on it, and if you don't focus on finance, you'll go out of business. So, it's one of my natural skill sets. So, but in terms of work-life balance, this is going to sound selfish, but I don't really think about it. I just kind of do what I want. If that makes sense. It's like I'm not trying to put myself into a structured routine. I am in a structured routine, but I'm not trying to force something that is going to make me unhappy. So at the moment, I'm Monday to Friday, the kind of routine that I'm in. If I'm not obviously traveling away, Monday to Friday, I'm up at 5. I'm in the gym for 6, and unless obviously we're doing stuff like this, and then I'll be in the office for about 7:30, and I'll leave the office about 6:30 ish, depending, and then I'll be back home. I'll spend an hour and a half or so with kids, and then kind of that's it in the evening, Monday to Friday. Most of the time, I won't watch TV, or if I fall into a bad habit, because we talked about this, I won't watch TV, but if I start watching something, I have to finish it. I can't stop then, like a series or something. Hence why I haven't started watching Breaking Bad or stuff like that, because there's so many seasons into it that I just know as soon as I get past episode 1, that's going to be a bad month of productivity
It's a
for me.
bloody good series, though, D. It's one of the best series ever, mate.
I've got a piano there. I've got a chess app on my phone, and I'm learning a language. Monday to Friday, I do those things in the evening. I'm learning different parts of skills, and then but on the weekend, then I'll spend more time with the family. And I'll be honest, if it wasn't for my wife, I would do a lot less with the family. But she's so family oriented that she's constantly like telling me what I need to do. You know, all the kids stuff. I don't have a clue most of the time what they're doing, when they're doing it. I just get told where I need to be and when. And it was kind of like this trip as well. I didn't get involved in it at all. I just got told where to be and when. And then my mind, I spent most of my time thinking. Most of the trip, I wasn't working. I was thinking, and I wrote down some great ideas for the business, and then that's really the skill, because nobody else in my business is a visionary, is a thinker, and is always me thinking not 1 or 2 steps ahead, but like 10 steps ahead. Um, at the moment, obviously, the idea though is for us to scale to the next stage, I need somebody else in the region, the Wales region, who can be a regional MD that has that both strategic thinking and the operational thinking. But I'm not there as of yet.
One thing I studied about you, D, because we shared a room together, and only it's the 2 big lads in a double bed. Didn't have many hours, to be honest, because it was you know, when you sleep next to a bloke, you sort of don't want to lean over and put your arm around someone
You
and
did try
wake
a
them up.
couple of times.
I did try, and then I was like, right, I've got to sleep the other side. But one thing I realised about you is your energy levels, man. Like, you can be so high, then sometimes when you're having that downtime, you really like suck all your energy into this very calm, very quiet. Just you literally almost go introverted. It's like it's almost like you're bipolar. Like, everyone in that group is on the spectrum. They've either got autism of a certain level, bipolar, D. Like, and everyone's got different signs of it. So it's just like you put them all into a room and shit's going down. Like, you got people that are being quiet in the deep thoughts. Some people are going mental, and you just there's something about being an entrepreneur or being sort of driven, personally driven. And that's,
Yeah.
I didn't realize you went that low and quiet. Like, you're right, mate, in this slow zone moving, and then all of a sudden you're fucking wild again.
It's one of those things where people struggle when they get close to me to deal with a bit, is because, like, I know this is going to sound stupid, but sometimes I'm not fully in control of my brain, so to speak, in that I'll, like, we're on a mission together, me and my brain. This is what it feels like, right? We're on a mission together to do something, right? Which is obviously this business and stuff. And then and I can be, you know, in with a group of people, and we're doing something, and like my brain's in with it, and it's like, this is good, this is good, this is good, and then bam, all of a sudden it'll switch. It'll be like, this is no longer good. You need to be doing this now, and you need to be doing. And then my whole demeanor will change like within an instant, and I'll be like, if I'm not going to do that thing that I need to be doing now, I'm really struggling to stay in the zone with the thing. And I could literally 5 minutes ago, I could have been like one of the top people in that thing, and then 5 minutes later, it's like, what's happened? What's happened to him? It's like, and I'm like, look, guys, you crack on. You're fine. Don't worry about me. I need to like do this. It's there
You
was
like your
yeah,
alone time as well, don't you? You like, you'd go off and do a bit of skiing on your own, or you'd like leave
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
pub an hour or
yeah,
two early just to go and have a bit of one-to-one time with
yeah.
you and your brain, I guess.
It's needed. And I got we was together at Folly, and everything was great. And I was like, I knew you were all leaving within like 40 minutes, and then everything was fine. And then I was like, I need to go and ski by myself. And I tried staying there for a little bit, and I was like, I can't stay here. And then that's what I'm going. And I skied for a bit by myself, and I was just having a chat with myself, really, and just going through everything that was going through my brain, strategizing things I need to be thinking about. And then by the time I got back, I was fine.
See, 2 hours into the folly douche, I wasn't thinking about work at all. I was very much in the moment. I was like, fucking, let's just have it. And it was great fun. Just, you know,
You are class, though, Stu. You are such a good laugh. You're so everybody on the not and you too, Ryan, but everybody, Stu, on the trip absolutely loved you. You know, they always said,
Energy
that
levels.
good guy,
The
the
energy levels,
energy
mate. Just he
is
comes in the morning with his beautiful smile, and he's like, "All right, gang, how you doing, boys? You all right? All right? How you doing? Yeah, yeah." And like, it's the whole day, just that level.
Yeah, it's like every time you've entered into a room, it's like you've entered it by kicking the door through. What's happening then, gang?
Let's
It's
go a
good.
little
It's
bit
good crack.
practical on this then, and we'll start with Jack. Work-life balance has been, there's this whole health and wellness kind of trend that, well, I wouldn't even say trend, I'd say cultural shift that's happened throughout the world, and generally that happens. More prosperity we have, the more opportunities we have, and the more liberties we can take because there's just a more of an abundance of things. And that can go too far one way, where you have some people who don't even want to work and live off benefits and kind of be a leech on society. And then there's the other way where people still just work really, really hard for these goals. But at the end of the day, life's getting so much better as years go on anyway, that what's the end goal? Is it, if the end goal is to live a better life, then effectively your average middle class person could run a 9 to 5 and their life's getting better anyway as a byproduct of just the world becoming more prosperous. But let's say you're a business owner and you're working your fucking ass off, and you're not early days, you're not the first year or two where I just think you got no choice but to give up pretty much all your free time to get something off the ground. That I don't think we should put any of our listeners under any illusion here that if you're getting something off the ground, it's very difficult to not give everything to it because you have no leverage yet. If you haven't built a business or built a revenue stream, then you can't just suddenly delegate from day one unless you're willing to put loads of capital in, and you've got loads of capital. So let's just say you're
It's like
two, 3 years.
it's like the inertia effort. If you've got a stationary car in neutral, to get it rolling at a few miles per hour, you've got to put in more effort to get it rolling. And then once it's going,
Yeah,
you can put in less effort. Yeah.
exactly. So I'd say work-life balance is a fortitude for those who have got to a point where they're now, okay, I could effectively another 2.5, 3 grand a month. I could bring in an admin and I could start to delegate this, or I could bring in a project manager. I could start to delegate this. I could get some time back. So we're talking about once you're in that position where you've got the leverage in the business and you can start to change things. What is the how do you do it? Obviously, every business is slightly different, but Jack, how do you get that
Can I
work-life
just add
balance?
something on that work life balance with the car analogy? Yes, that's a great analogy, right? So you're going up. So, but the question is, if Elon Musk is 100 mile an hour and doing fuck all is 0 mile an hour, where are you on that spectrum in terms of like, are you more content traveling at 30 mile an hour, or are you more like D wants to travel at 70 mile an hour? I think as soon as you get to that speed, then maintain that speed and just adjusting the way you drive to make sure that speed maintains. So where would you say on the scale between 100 mile an hour and 0? Do you see yourself in your business?
It was between 0 and 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, 100 being Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and 0 doing fuck all. Where do you see yourself? Where do you feel like you need to get to in your own success or your own journey in business?
Yeah, I've always been just a grinder, really. I'd probably say for the last 10 years of my life, I've been over 90 miles an hour, solid, like really pushing it. And the only times that 10% is not 90%, is not 100 miles an hour, is actually times where, so my work life balance tends to be led around what other people need. So my wife will be like, I want to do this. And I'll go, cool, these are the conditions that I would attach to that. So, for an example, one of her life dreams before we had a family would be to go to Peru and do Machu Picchu. And that's really difficult for me because it's 2 days travel there, 2 days travel back. You need to be there a week to acclimatize to the altitude and everything. And like, I do want to do it, but if it was down to me, I probably wouldn't go. I don't, and if it was down to me on every holiday, it would be I get led by other people, like a group going, I want to go here. And I'm like, yeah, okay, suppose why not? Why can't I go on that? And other people go, you should go, you should go. So I'm probably more one that gets influenced to go rather than it's my idea. I want to go do this. And that's that.
So what's the purpose then of success? Like I'm the totally opposite. I love the freedom to be able to go where I want and to go for a week here or to get 6 or 7 holidays in a year. Like it's because of the business that's like the tools that allow you to do that. Where you're the opposite, saying, "Well, I've got the opportunity to do these things and I can afford it, and I've got the time, freedom." So then, what is the next level of?
Yeah. I just always feel like I could be doing more, to be fair.
But
Like an
why?
inherent thing.
Why?
I suppose it's like that desire to make impact and that desire to always be 1% better every day is like how I wake up in my mindset, and I actually beat myself. Like I see it in my dad all the time. Like if you watch him like carry something from the shed to another shed, and he like bangs his knee, how aggravated he gets that he's done it inefficiently is like kind of like my daily movement. Like it's all got to be like I get prime example. I'm quite a relaxed, rational person, but if something like I make the wrong decision and there's traffic, it will aggravate me because now I'm wasting time, and I constantly feel like I've got to be. I'll think to myself, this was a terrible idea. I should have walked to the office, and I suppose I'm quite highly strung in that respect. My wife always says that. She's like, "You're very highly strung." I've never. She always says that I'll never let my mood try and impact her. So, for an example, if she's had a bad day, she might nag at me at something, and that's impacting me from her bad day. I'll never take it out on her, but she'll can see that I'm highly strung on myself, and I'm putting it on myself, and I'm like quite self aware of like what I want to do and improve and make change, and move things along every day, which is good but bad. It's kind of like a blessing and a curse, as Dorian always says. Like, it's good to keep motivated and to keep energy going, and making sure that whoever you're speaking to, there's sort of, you're pushing that influence of movement and progression onto them. But that's just always been the way that I've been wired up.
Jack, I would say me and you are similar in that way. That if we were to really give an answer, my answer to anyone who asks me like why do you do what you do, I'm always just like, I like building stuff. I just like having something that's here and just moving it there and moving it there and moving it there and just building something, even if it doesn't have to be property. I couldn't care what it is. Building something is interesting.
No, I was just going to say, I would say Jack is the definition of a workaholic, like an actual workaholic. And I mean, it's like that in itself is also, it is a blessing and a curse. It's like only Jack can do his own mental compromises, which no doubt he has to do on a daily basis. If you're a workaholic, you're compromising yourself all the time, justifying why you're at certain events, justifying why you have to do certain things rather than the work that you want to be doing. And it's because, whether it's a part of his upbringing from his dad. I know his dad's an incredibly hard worker and lots of traits and stuff from that. But ultimately, he's just, the fact is, he's wired in a workaholic way, and he just has to, he's come working the way out. I think if you are a workaholic, I don't think you can fully control personally just saying, just don't worry about it, because your brain is just not letting you do that. It is not letting you do that. And that's the difficult thing to.
There's two quotes that really resonate with me. So Mark Cuban, billionaire, American billionaire, his most famous quote is, "The only thing that you can control is your own effort." And that for me is like, you could be working inefficiently, you could be not that smart, you could be in a sector that you don't understand, but you can control your effort. And another one is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Obviously, he's come on leaps and bounds from a very deprivileged family upbringing, you could say. But his view is you should always be the hardest worker in the room, and that's always been my motto. When I worked in sales, there's a room of 100. There was actually the most direct monitor, so they had a 100-inch screen on the wall, and it put how many minutes that you've been on the phone and how many dials you've made, and it was a tally, so it would tally up and down depending on who had made the most dials and put in the most effort. And I made full sure that for the 2 years I was in that role, I was at the top of the board every day, because that's one thing that I can control.
Film situation, you said what last meal would you have, what music would you listen to, and what film would you watch? Well, one of my film was The Pursuit of Happiness, and it's funny because in that, obviously, the part of The Pursuit of Happiness, that the actor himself is Will Smith, which is also somebody said that you want to be the hardest worker in the room, so to speak. But the other part of Pursuit of Happiness is that during that, him proving to the firm, he had to genuinely be the most efficient and hardest worker in the room to get to be able to break through. If you've seen it, I won't spoil it, but it's a really good film. So it just loops it all back.
Well, let's reframe this then, because working hard is important, and I'm a big advocate for working hard, and especially if you're building something. If you're starting out and you're building something, here he is. Look at this is work-life balance in a photo.
Nursery day. Hey, say hello, everyone. Say hello, mams.
Hello, Emily and Hudson.
I was just thinking of what Jack was saying there, like work-life balance is life, and like where was I going with it? So when you're working,
Mate, Stu's house weather was chaos.
So coincidentally, whilst you were saying that, I've got friends that I think have a really good work-life balance. So I see them work 30 hours a week. They do really well for it. They can go out and play golf. They can go out for meals with their family at lunchtime in the week. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I just don't know why I can't. Like it's. I just sit there thinking, it's working hours. Everyone's available on their phone, and I'm sat in here not doing anything.
when work becomes your life is a bit of a game. So you actually sort of all three work together. Like you work because you love it, you're playing the game, and then you want to get better at the game. And it's just this constant triangle where it doesn't matter where you get to, you always want, you can do better, so you work a bit harder. improves your life a bit more. You enjoy the game, and no one wants to lose, right? I think the fear of failing in most entrepreneurs is going bust, going to liquidation. Feeling like a failure must feel horrible. And I've made massive mistakes in my life and stuff, and hopefully it betters you as a person. But as you go through these stages of life, you sort of go, "Oh, that's a good win," and you take that little 1% and you plug it into your game, if you like. You make bigger steps, and over time, I mean, but then when does it? The game never stops, right? Life's a bit like music, which is what I was saying on holidays. Like music is your life, beautiful as it's playing, and then at the end it ends. And if you got to enjoy the journey, right? And I just think that you need to have an end goal, or certainly like if I can get to like 40, 50 mile an hour and maintain 50 mile an hour for the rest of my life, it gives me the freedom to go around the world and do physically what I want and have that time freedom and financial freedom, and so come away from the normal rat race. Then that to me is that's good enough.
I think the more you get to know successful people, the more you realize success is a predisposition of someone's psyche. It's not really an outcome. It's just some people will just win and they won't not win. They'll just win. And then there's other people who are kind of gambling with winning, and they maybe have a predisposition to be negative or fall into a depressive state or something like that. They're defeatist traits that stop anyone from kind of getting past those kind of critical barriers, where a winner will see a critical barrier and go, I will succeed no matter what. Even if I fail at
But
this
that,
one
but,
junction, I'll
yeah,
win.
but that winner has failed probably 9 times before that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
worked doubly as worked 10 times as hard as that person that's won once or trying to win.
Well, let's just reframe this, because I do think it's always an interesting conversation around why you're doing something. So there's if we talk about working hard, there's innovators in the world. I think there's a difference between hard workers contributing to their family, to an economy, to GDP, to productivity in their sector. That's like one kind of working hard, where I think you could maybe temper that with a value of how much should you work hard, how much should you have balance. Then there's innovators, people pushing the front edge of a field, and this is where Elon Musk is, that guy. But there's also many other people, Einstein and all kinds of other people who've come before, where they're innovating at the top end of boundaries that have not been tapped before. So they kind of that they have no measuring stick as to how hard they should work, because they're trying to discover new things, create new things. None of us here are doing that. We're not innovating, a technology or a thing that could change the world or change everyone's lives. So I think we fall kind of into that other basket of we're contributing to a community, an economy, a sector, or our families. I think we can all safely say the family part's sorted. We've done enough work now where we could have our families secured. So what's the other driver? If we're just doing it to contribute to an economy, then my question is, what does the world need more of? Does it need more people who work really hard and don't find time to enjoy themselves? Or does it need people who can do both, and people who can go, hey, look, you can work really hard, you can do great things, but you can also really enjoy life and spread good vibes and have good friendships and enjoy the moments and things like that. Because if you kind of marry it like that, you actually see that the workaholic, if you're just working for working's sake, you're actually not as successful as the people who are able to do both and able to have a life and have a purpose.
I don't know though, because I personally, if I just give my 2 pence here a second, the problem we've always got as humans is that we like to compare like others to ourselves. But the problem we get is that sometimes it's really not that easy to, and like I've witnessed this myself firsthand, the way that my brain is wired, for example, and with others too. And I always try to remember is that it's so easy to say things like, you should have more, you should relax more, you should have more time, more, and stuff like that. But the problem is like when your brain is really not letting you. This is the thing. It doesn't let you, and then if you go against it, you end up in a, like, well, me personally, in quite a depressive state, even if technically I'm doing something that society deems as a positive thing, like spending time with the family, or sometimes having dinner with the family, or having a conversation with friends about something completely irrelevant that I can't stand, like, I again, whatever it might be. And sometimes that point is that if you force yourself to do that for a prolonged period of time, when your brain is screaming at you to not be doing that, to be doing something else, your energy completely drops. You end up in a depressive state, and you're no good for anybody. Whereby, if you actually, you know, if you work all the hours or whatever that you want to, and then you end up feeling very happy, and then boom, you're then round your friends and family, you're like really happy, then you're like, right, who wants to do this now, blah blah blah, and it's like, no guys, it's 1 a.m.
Well, D, let's reframe that as well, because I think that's what you're kind of saying there, and I completely understand this. I struggle with family meals and things like that. If your brain's ticking somewhere else, you'll feel like you're actually being a burden to the people in the room who are trying to enjoy themselves. But is that not a
Yeah, but
weakness?
then what it is, but then that's where it's come back. Compromise. I'll do deals, so to speak. Like with my wife, we'll do it. Like if I need to do something, no, seriously, yeah, you negotiate, and then your brain has an agreement, and you're like, if I come to do this, which I really don't want to do, can I then do this at this time, which technically is against, like a current agreement that we have. I'm doing something in a time that we would normally else, and then providing that's now a successful negotiation, and then my brain, now I'm like present. I can be present in there, because anytime I have any type of thought, so I'm like, I already know now that I've negotiated this slot over here. If that makes sense.
Hmm.
I just think it's about knowing that, being present with what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then having the right people around you to help you work through it.
But if I spun that around and said, in business, let's say, for whatever reason, D, let's just say you struggle with doing certain kind of tasks, but you have to do those tasks. So you have to overcome those in business. You have to like
Yeah,
strengthen
you
your
do.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm if I didn't make it clear, so the one key word I mentioned in what I recently just said is, if you have to do it for a prolonged period of time. Like, you can do anything for a short period of time, even if stuff you don't like, you can. But if you were doing tasks you really didn't like in business, day in, day out, and we're talking like really, really not like, for a prolonged period of time, I would guarantee you, put money on the table, it would affect your mental health so badly, and everybody around you, that you'd probably be absolutely unbearable to be around, even by yourself.
Do you think it's just interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, there's a part of the mind that has a strength to be able to build things, deal with pressure, do all this other kind of stuff, which is great for productivity in a business environment. But are we basically abdicating responsibility for the other weakness in our brain that doesn't like to socialize, or doesn't, or kind of chooses to go, I don't want to work hard on that part of my brain. I'm accepting my weakness and that I'll just get by. I'll turn up to the meal, but I won't necessarily put my all in because I want to get back to working, being productive. Are we saying there's a weakness there that we just kind of abdicate responsibility for, or should you really be working on those kind of things?
Dorian was talking about that he doesn't watch TV. Neither do I. I tend to just work in the evenings or try and watch something relative to what I'm learning about. So often, if you're in a group environment and someone's talking about a TV series, I'm not engaged because I don't have a clue what they're on about, and I strategically choose to not watch those programs and don't care that I'm not involved in that conversation. Like the amount of times over the last year, someone's been like, "What TV shows are you watching of late?" I don't watch any.
Yeah, but it's good for your creative. It's if you're not getting attacked. I mean, I don't watch football. I stopped watching football when I was like 20, when I realised I could work evenings and weekends and pretty much quadruple my income. Then I decided it was worth me spending time working than it was watching. I love international football and I'll make time for it. At the same time with a series, like it's a time where me and the wife can talk about what we do in those situations, or and have something together where we can go on a bit of a journey, even if it's short term, just to be present with each other. And it's another part of your brain which I think is just as important as the success part, because if you're totally focused on one part of your life, it might not help you with other areas. So I think to become an all-rounded character is super important. And it's not like I go out of my way to just get home to watch TV. I couldn't give a shit. I'd watch YouTube. One of the guys, Robbie, shout out to Robbie from Nottingham, what a legend. But he was totally like open to conversations around Bitcoin and what we see as like philosophy and society and the economy and our insights to what. And he's like, "Don't you feel like you've learned it?" I said, "I probably watch like a few hours a day just as I'm driving around, just to try and stay current and to keep up with what's going on with Donald Trump and the White House and the crypto summit, all this stuff that was happening." And he's like, "Do you feel like you've mastered it?" I'm like, "It's not really. It's more like a philosophy. You constantly have to reassure yourself what you're learning." And it's the same with the wife. You've got to chap in with her and make sure she's good. And, then you've got to make sure that your staff at the office, it's a people's game, whether you're just totally into business or you're into social stuff or you're into different circles.
I think really it just comes back down to, everyone's wired differently, and some people are on. I think anybody, as you said, Stu, like people on the trip, that a lot of them I would say are on some form of spectrum or something. But you all have to just find your own path of defining success. And but the important thing around it, though, is having people around you that like know you and get. Like, I'm a very difficult person to live with, to work with. I know it, but a lot of my people who I work with, they don't have to work with me full time. As we talked about, I used to have an open plan office, and I was the key reason why we don't have an open plan office. That's with my own shortcomings, because I'm difficult to work around for a prolonged period of time, and so I have my own office. But the and it's the same with life as well. But if you find the right people who get you and can work with you, then and you can keep compromising, then you can navigate what I think would be a very successful life, personally.
I've got a question for some of you guys. It's like dinner table chat. I've just talked about like people bringing up series. Is like I'm used to like the times that I was at the dinner table with my father of young age, and now if me and my family go to dinner, obviously I'm business with my brother. A lot of the conversation is about business. We talk about like my catch ups. I own some properties with my dad. I obviously run the business with my brother. I like talking to my mum about her dad's business, which was a successful construction business, and finding out what worked, what didn't. Like a lot of our family conversations are around business, and my sister hates it. She's a school teacher. She sat there while we're talking about, leverage, market movement, opportunities, what risks should we take, what risks my parents took. I love hearing about all of that, and it's kind of like we don't, I'd rather talk about that stuff than how their friends are getting on, or we just naturally always fall into this trap, and we have to consciously bring it back to things that other people can join in on, because we would just go down a rabbit hole, and then half an hour would pass by and we've talked about a plot of land that was supposed to be sold and didn't. And so, I mean, how much of your guys dinner table chat is about business and not?
10 years ago, so I'm sounding like I don't really work that much, and I think I value it still hugely, but not as much as I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when I was Dorian's age, I was obsessed. Every conversation, every family member, like my wife would say, my mum's and my nan's eyes would roll over. But I'm telling about my day. I wouldn't tell about my day. I'll tell about the next 6 months and what I've just accomplished last month and the biggest problems. And it just wouldn't stop. With this machine that just keeps going at a high
Two
level.
times speed as well.
2 times speed, yeah. I mean, hold on. I mean, I used to be called Hurricane Stu at the office, and I went in like 6 years ago, and my bag was packed, my boxes were on the side, and it's like, you're not in here anymore. You need to work from home, and I've never gone back. Even now, we just refurb the office. I still haven't got a desk. I've got a hot desk that I'm allowed to sit at because they just work better, and they work better when they're on their own, and because they're different on the disc scale. They're competent. They want to have a structure and a system. They don't want me going in there. What about this? What about this? Which is exactly what Dorian does. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying just keep an eye on it and just try and you have to work really hard to sort of just wind it down a bit to get to this sort of constant flight mode and not fucking like a fucking rocket ship, and it's all over the place. But yeah, it's my talk now is everything but something just happened. I was like, okay, let's just not talk about business. And actually, then I found this relief valve, which actually then frees up more of your brain to get a bit more creative and enjoy a bit more life. And actually, when you come out of that obsessive state, life gets that little bit less stressful, I would say. But it's a good place to be, and it's also good to be totally obsessed with your business as well for a short period of time.
You're a bit like that with Bitcoin now as well, Alan Stuart. I remember, you're going away. The first thing you do when you wake up, when I turned aside, Stuart would be there listening to an announcement on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it'd be a good day or a bad day based on what the market's doing.
Jack, I feel like we have a lot of similarities here. I think maybe because we both come from similar sort of family work environments where families, hard workers, we work in similar spheres. And if we meet up and we have dinners together, it is just business talk. But a lot of the last year or so, I think because of what's been happening in the world politics, we've been talking a lot about politics, not just in terms of, left and right and all that kind of shit, but more like where's the world heading? And trying to almost prepare ourselves mentally as a family to go, if the world heads in this direction, what does it mean for us? And that seems to lead a lot of our conversations. So business, politics, economics, money, banks, finance. We do sometimes, it's very trivial if we pan into like trivial conversation. We kind of go like, oh yeah, how's the day been? Yeah, cool like that. And then just suddenly it goes back into, did you see that thing what Trump did the other day? And then blah, 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 we're straight back into politics. It just keeps dragging back into, I suppose, where everyone naturally finds an intrigue or an interest. I wouldn't say I do much trivial conversation. Me and Honor will kind of talk about anything, but she's also interested in business stuff, and she works closely with a business owner. So we talk a lot about that business sector she's in. And I don't know about you, but I find it interesting sometimes to dive into completely different businesses and just talk about other business models, or like in beauty or fashion or whatever it
Honor,
is. Yeah.
she is unbelievable, mate. As a what she does in her job, like she let us into a bit of insight about how she'll run social media account of her boss, and the way that she can manage it 6 months in advance, that level of detail, it's just so inspirational to see someone and how they actually operate, like the organizational skills that you need. I mean, like, yeah, she's a young girl, but she's actually transformed that whole way that industry's done.
So she's also a workaholic. So me and her are both workaholics in different directions, which can be awkward for. Yeah, yeah. We tie back in as much. We both have to kind of put things to one side and come back together, which is it can be difficult. It'd be a strainer in a relationship if you're particularly if you're in different sectors because there's not a lot of crossover until we kind of come together and talk about business. But I love talking about other people's businesses, business models, and sometimes there's transferable things you learn and you go, "That's interesting. I reckon I could use that sort of similar thing in my business or in my sector."
But looking at it, there's a very common trait between Mia, Megan, and Honor. Their personality types, the way that they're programmed, is a way that really complements each of the people they work with, and you
Yeah,
could just see
yeah.
it clear as day. Dorian couldn't see the extra added value that I think Mia could bring to the business
I know.
because he
I
sort of
know.
put her into a silo and gone, well, that's what you need to do, and that's what I need as part of my jigsaw puzzle to get. But I think that the relationship they've got between, she knew what he was thinking, even though she's only been with him a couple of years, 18 months. She knew what was coming. She knew what problems or what stresses he was foreseeing. I was like, man, that is like such a strong character to bring inside your circle. Let her know the weaknesses and strengths that are coming up, and let her try and almost protect you and try and keep your time precious. And that's how he'll find time for his family. Ultimately, my biggest worry with Dorian is that his kids are going to be 18, 20, and I know he had a bit of a strong old or tough upbringing with his dad. You know, his dad was fucking like bomb, a workaholic, and obviously it's affected him. I think emotionally. I hope he's still listening to this, but I think it's affected him in deep down. And I'm just worried that he's going to do the same with his kids because they're going to just fly by. And everyone who's had kids have always said to me, just enjoy them as a child, enjoy them as kids because they'll be adults and won't need you that long. So, they're the precious moments, which that time over business any day of the week in terms of growth.
I completely understand that. I've not had kids, but I've always said my biggest regret was my little brothers. Through those formative years, I was away with the band and I saw them once or twice a year, and I missed that crucial part of them, like kind of going from child to teenager and them like discovering who they were. Yeah, and I missed a lot of that, and I'll never get that back. And then and I always say like they were 5 and now they're an adult, and I just don't remember. They just suddenly were old. And you definitely miss those parts when they were so cute and little and you could take them out and about and they'd follow you everywhere and they'd look up to you and
Well, imagine that times 1,000. And that's what it'd be like, I think, with your kids. Anyway, D, anything to say?
I had counselling. I've been
You had or have?
had past tense.
You completed it.
did it work?
Years and years and years ago, this was a long time ago, and informally diagnosed me with some form of OCD type thing. But it's
No shit.
the what's that?
No shit.
Yeah, like as we mentioned before, I just think it's more complex than that, and there's also different severities, and someone can have the same title description of potential issue or disorder, and but be completely different. And so I think it's just way more complicated than that, and everyone's on their own journey to figure out their own routine, their own rhythm, what's right for them, the people around them, and all that sort of stuff. And that's the game of life, really. Like the game of business is to be successful, grow a good team, be profitable, or make the biggest impact. Whatever it is, game of life is doing that. But in terms of am I emotionally the short answer is I think I don't know how to answer this directly. Really, I've just got issues like everyone.
A question to rephrase it, and we can go around the room, is like what things did you? I mean, Daniel Priestley believes that what happens between you age of 10 and 13, so there'll be a life event, and in that life event, it kind of manufactures how you're built and what you want to achieve in life and how you act every day. So I think it might be broader than 10 to 13. I think that's probably a bit accurate. But I mean, what I can talk about things that from my upbringing that makes me go, that makes a lot of sense. Like, what are those that make sense for you guys from the past to now, and why you're wired that way? Because I said I'm a workaholic. I don't know why, but there is actually some sentiment behind that from the upbringing.
It's funny you say that because yeah, I would say it's probably a bit broader. Might be like 8 to 16 or something. But when I was 14, 2008 financial crash, and well, my dad watches these episodes. He loves watching all these, and he won't mind me saying this. But we went through very difficult financial times as a family. We had to move back to the UK, and we went from living this lovely lifestyle in Spain. We were never like super rich or anything, but dad done well in business, like any entrepreneur, done well, crash, done well, crash. But this 2008 crash completely kind of wiped us out as a family. Dad went back to basically rock bottom, had to build up again from scratch. And he had to dedicate the next 10 years when we moved back to the UK to working abroad. Hard, couldn't be home. And I felt that impact. And I think that made me go, I never, ever want to have a family where I'm not financially secure. Financial security to me is like numero uno priorite. If you want to like just have consistency for your children and know that they can be in like a safe environment and know that you can offer, these kind of benefits and stuff whilst not having to give up my life, to have to do that, which is where the work-life balance I think comes in. At some point, you have to be able to go, okay, I've worked really hard, haven't seen the kids much, or I haven't done this or whatever, and now I've stabilized my business. I've got a management team. I can do a bit of both, and I think that's where Stu's a good epitome of success. Where he's built this thing, he's done the 20 years of grind, and now he's going, cool. My weekends are for my kids. I can switch on and off when I want to go away or do things like that, and I can still work hard and make a good fucking yearly salary. And I think that's
But the impressive thing with Stuart, which is what I said to him obviously when we were away, which I find inspirational, is that obviously he can do all that, but the business he doesn't have a small business. Like there's one business is a multi-million-pound business, and I know Stuart won't mind me saying this, and then he's doing multi-million-pound property investment deals as well. So it's not like he's gonna like gonna switch to be like, he's now like a full-time daddy type thing, and he's got the pram out and stuff and waving at people as they go off the way to work. There's a lot going on there as well. So
There's a lot going on, but obviously it's the time outside of the hour as well. Like, we were doing a podcast last week, so we were going away, or the week before last. We're doing them at 6:30 in the morning. And I was doing my last, we do the ground up network on a Wednesday. I had Tuesdays and Thursdays where I put the kids to sleep at 7:15, straight back doing quotes, and then doing Zoom calls sort of 9 till 10 at night. So a lot of stuff that no one sees. The graph's there, and it's not even like it's going to work. It's just, okay, the diary's full. Let's just plow through it. But I think going back to Jack's point about the 10 to 13, I think that's absolutely bang on. And I think my issue, which I've never really spoke about really, but my mum and dad broke up and got divorced when I was 13, and it fucked me. I think emotionally, I blamed myself, which you do as a kid. I think I didn't treat women with particularly respect. I mean, even to recent years, I don't think I've treated the female side. I've not been the best person. And also financially, my mum really struggled financially. She's gone from she's a banking clerk making 14, 15 grand a year, and every Thursday, Friday, there'd be always £20 or whatever for me to go out to buy booze with the local lads and to, school friends and stuff, which then leads you down a path, which, I wouldn't be sitting here if I stayed around. I had to physically move away and just put myself into work. And I think that was like the best distraction for me to sort of never be in a position that my mum was in, which was having no money effectively. So there's a determination there that I just like, oh man, if I can just stop the football, stop mucking around and wasting time and just get down and graft, and then realize I was actually quite good at talking and communicating with all ages of people. I remember selling my first loft conversion to someone who worked for the BBC. I've never met anyone who worked for the BBC, and it was my first lead. And I went there and I sold him a 25 grand extra room to their house. My boss actually came me to the meeting after and couldn't believe that they just signed up for 25 grand. It's going back to 2002. This 20-year-old just walked in and gone, boom, yeah, they're up for it. They want it. And that was the start of earning money. And then it was great money, being 2021. And that just then lit a sign inside me to go, fuck me, I'm pretty good at this. And then it just built on top of that.
Would you say that kind of trauma you felt of, sort of divisive home at that age is why you want to really make up for it now with work-life balance and know that you're there for your children, and you'd say that kind of pulls back around?
I think so. I think because, and there's no way that however hard it gets between Charlotte and I, and it is tough, marriage is super, super tough, and, things happen and you got to keep plowing through. But I think the common goal for us is that we want to make sure those kids have the best time possible. And we're in a fortunate position that we can afford some stuff, but understand the economy and the fact that there is a race, it is a rat race, because you're just being, they're inflation is coming up behind you. You've got to graft and work hard, but as long as you can build a business that, sustains or beats that inflation world, there's no reason why we can't then put the priority of the kids' happiness at the forefront of our minds, really.
And Dee, what about you? Anything from those ages, those early sort of teen years that you think maybe has affected you now?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's lots of stuff, isn't there? Like, see it, and there's. I think if you look back or just see how life's created, you'll see hints of the early day like environments coming to rear its head, like both positives and negatives. If you start with the negatives, I grew up in a bit of a dysfunctional kind of household, I would say. My both my parents didn't follow the traditional education system, but they're very hard-working family. My mum is bipolar and dyslexic. My dad's dyslexic and more of a manual worker rather than a an academic person. Well, completely. And we were encouraged to work hard from young ages, and like they already had some properties because my dad, just buying terraced houses and doing them up. My dad would work all the hours. We didn't see him in the morning, didn't see him when we came home. He didn't come to our birthdays. He didn't come to Christmas plays. He didn't come, he didn't really show emotion at all or anything like that. We didn't have dinner together at a dinner table. If you were making a noise at the, all that sounds really bad, right? But it's not necessarily bad. It's just that it was just the way he was. Because my dad's upbringing was challenging. He grew up from a very, very poor family. His dad died in his arms when he was really young, and obviously he loved his dad. And his mum died. They both died from cancer. And I think he didn't get to he didn't get to fully mature himself on the emotional side, and all he wanted to do was to work hard to prove to his dad. And then when his dad died, or he just constantly worked hard just to prove to his dad. That's all he was doing it for, was for his dad, not necessarily for us as a family. And then obviously it became more family related. But that, from growing up, that's what I thought was normal, and my brothers, so to speak. And it was dysfunctional. There was other things growing up, like there was obviously infidelity going on, there was arguments going on, physical fighting going on. It was all that sort of stuff. My dad didn't drink because he used to drink and he wasn't very good with it. So that probably meant every time that I used to drink, then I was terrible with alcohol. I was very, very aggressive, and all that sort of stuff probably came from that side, because it was kind of instilled in me. That's what people are like. I don't know, but then I could never switch it off. And then going through life, then when you meet somebody who isn't brought up in a similar way, it's very difficult to like get that compromise where I'm on like one end of the extreme, and I've always struggled with things like having dinner at the dinner table, coming home at a reasonable time. Various things I've struggled massively with, and I've had to lean on kind of like my wife, who naturally does those things, and she really helps me be a better person in that respect. But then but I have a very low empathy level because I just think that's how I was brought up. I was taught growing up, everybody's out to rip you off. Don't trust anybody. Don't really, think people are going to fuck you over, so you may as well get one over on that. All that sort of stuff. So like when I was growing up, like I said, I've got very, very low empathy. And I struggle with it. Sometimes borderline sociopath, basically. But then on the good side is I've got an incredibly high willpower, work ethic. I can go cold turkey on things. I don't quit. I never give up, and I'm always striving to prove either to myself that I can do it. It's like, for example, we missed a ski slope down by Folly Deuce, me and Daniel. I took the skis off. There's no lift to get back up. You have to go all the way back up, or you walk up. Basically, I think you walked it as well, Ryan.
I come out the half pipe just at the right time. We come out the half pipe. We're off piece, aren't we? And we just come out exactly in line. These boys have gone bolting down. I was like, fucking luck.
We went down. Me and Daniel took the skis off and said, "Right, Daniel, let's walk up there. It doesn't look that far," and it really didn't look that far. But oh my god, it's solid to walk up there. And as I started walking, and I realised how difficult this actually was, I my brain switched into David Goggins mode and was like, you know, we're not quitting. Quitters don't start, all that sort of stuff. And I didn't stop the whole way. I look back, and Daniel was just fucking. He needed to stop. He needed, it's different because of physical but he came at the top. He's like, "Oh, you didn't stop. You didn't stop." I was like, Daniel, my brain would not let me stop. I was just like, I'm getting up there in one go.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what about you, Jack? You threw the question to the room. Anything from those younger years that you think shaped you for now, like particularly on the sort of trauma side?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Dorian, really. Like dad was my dad like started working when he was 9 years old, left school, couldn't read or write, fully dyslexic, and that's the way he's been wired, and has completely transformed in one generation the family security to the other end of the spectrum. So massive kudos to my dad. But as a result, it meant he was very hard. He doesn't believe that anyone had it as hard as him. So why has anyone got an excuse? And that was definitely how he communicated to me as a young child. And I was the oldest son, and obviously my sister, who's older than me, sort of being a girl, he's very traditional, so he's always of the view that girls get taken care of, and the male takes care of the females, which was very much his life thing. And coincidentally, because he did so well, he managed to put me into a very good school. And I also was dyslexic and struggled in school by a number of reasons. I never had a good attention span for things I wasn't interested in, and I wasn't very good at reading. And fundamentally, 90% of any form of learning in school is reading, whether it's even if it's maths or whatever it may be. So I didn't perform that well in school. So he felt that I had no excuses, and I feel that I've got to prove to him that I don't have any excuses. And there was actually quite an interesting example of that. One time I did do quite well at school. It came back in a report. My mum was like, "Well done, you need to show your dad." And I remember showing my dad and saying, "Look, I've got an A or whatever, my first ever A." And his response was, "When you show me your bank balance is higher than mine, I'll be proud of you." And that was all that he said. And as a young child, you just question yourself, what do I need to do to win in this life? Because you think when you're at school, all you fixate on is in school. You want to be popular, you want to be smart, and you want to do well in school. And I was, not necessarily any of those so much so. And then after school, I realized that if you put a lot of effort into things, I started then working for other people and climbing the company quite quickly, using my brain. I didn't have to do loads of reader writing because I was on site. And then I started running sites. Deliveries would come in and they'll go, "Who's in charge here?" And everyone would go, "Well, Jack can deal with it because he's sort of managing us day to day and always thinking ahead." And then that intelligence level is kind of flipped on its head after school. You don't necessarily have to be, because you're not, I'm not, for example, at my school, I dropped French because I was terrible. I couldn't even do English. So, now in the real world, it's not about learning French. It's learning about money management. It's about managing people. It's about communicating. And I feel that is, where I sort of naturally, if you drop me in a group of 100 people, I'd naturally be one of the leaders that would go into that group and help everyone play off their strengths and get to the end result and strive for career progression. And it just started all making sense after school, and then I started to really enjoy the business side of things. So that's one thing that's coupled with, I think my dad's influence and the school influence. And as a result, I went to a wedding with a school friends, and the smartest kid in our school was at the wedding, and I had a really nice conversation with him, and I'd never been taken seriously before. And he was all of a sudden like, "Wow, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's really impressive." And actually, I had this really weird satisfaction where he probably couldn't remember my surname at school, and now he's probably really interested in me. And it's, for me, it's about getting that change and making a difference. Because if you think about school, you've got, we used to have 4 sets in my school, so 1 to 4. 4's the dumbest, 1's the smartest. Pretty much every single lesson that I did, I was in set 4. It was quite a good school, so on average, I was probably below average generally. But let's say I was in class 4. When you're queuing up to go into that class, outside the dumbest class, it has an impact on you every lesson, because you're looking at everyone else walking into the other rooms and you're thinking to yourself, why am I not in that room? And you start to ask a question why you couldn't be in that room. And some people were just born more book smart, more smart. My dad wasn't around to help me read. If I said to my dad, "Read me a bedtime story," he has to make it up. Like, I wasn't in an academic environment like Dorian mentioned. So you go on other vices, you learn off other people. Your learning becomes what other people say and do, and you learn off actions, and that's how I learn. And for me to learn, I've typically got to listen to other people tell me about what they learned. So I would much rather someone tell me their synopsis of a whole topic than me go and investigate that topic myself. And I love asking questions to people.
Would you do the same thing with your kids? Like, would you say that a similar thing, or would you take a different path of it? As in, would you say you'll be like, when your bank balance is bigger than mine, I'll consider you successful, or however that sort of played out with you and your dad? Would you repeat that?
I want my kids just to be happy. I'd actually rather them not going to business. I'd rather them be artists, sports people, do something that they love. And that's one of the other reasons I want to build the wealth that I can, so that if I have an athlete, I can travel, I can support their passion. A lot of the successful athletes in the UK owe it to their parents, giving up what they give up as their life and career to make sure that they can chase their dream. So that's one of the like sort of next generation drivers for me. I really want my family to do what makes them happy, and I have that with my wife. I always say to her, "Don't worry about that. I'll take care of all this. You just do what you want. Like, do what makes you happy." And that's kind of like what I want to give to my family. And I still, do to my existing family already, just to, I'm happy being the one that just charges away and creates value, so that others can do what they want to do. But
There's your drive then. That's the reason why at the start it's you love the accomplishment of letting others do what they want to do, and you'll sacrifice yourself to allow them to be happy.
When I first had kids just before, I kind of already said to myself, looking back now, how identical I thought I was going to be from my upbringing, where I wasn't going to do nappies, I wasn't going to take them to school, I wasn't going to go to play. That was my natural default setting, basically. I remember, but obviously I've developed out of that through just one good thing about learning and educating and unlocking that power of self development is that you can make changes and in life as well. But on that note, I genuinely do have to take my kids to school now. So
Just on that note, quickly, just go and do you shoot, mate. But what Dee just said there is the exact opposite what I thought when I was growing up. I said I'm going to be the dad who can pick up his kids at 3:15 anytime he wants. If I want to pick them up every day, work 3 or 4 hours in the late morning, and then go back and pick them up. That's what gave me the drive to never work for someone.
I think you said it on the ski trips, Stu, that behind every great man's a great woman, and vice versa. And I think that's what's really helped Stu is that he's got a woman behind her, or his Mrs. Wife, who's able to support him in for his shortcomings and help nurture the family so that he can strive and do the other things he wants to do. If he had it another way, and he said as much, it would be very difficult for him. Yeah, it's not quite that easy.
It ain't that
Um,
easy. She comes with some complications, I can tell you.
I look at my parents sort of on the same token. So I've got friends that have got 2 kids, and they're like, honestly, having 2 kids is the hardest thing that I've ever done. And they're like we're in a couple that are like taking it in turns, dovetailing sleep. My dad hasn't changed a nappy in his life. My mum had 3 kids on her own, and I look at her and I'm like, actually, she's probably made more achievement in doing
yeah,
that than my dad going out and working. If you
yeah,
look,
yeah.
completely honest,
Charlotte's just not geared. We're both not geared up to be parents. Like we're both happy with our independent lives. We could go together on holiday. We could go separate. We could spend time apart, spend time together. And then you throw 2 kids in there that are. It's just unbelievably difficult. And it's like it's the hardest thing. Like probably 10 times harder than anything else I've ever tried to accomplish is trying to be a dad and trying to get through the. It's just
I think
relentless
you're a
and it
good
never
dad, mate.
ends.
I
Oh,
think you're
thanks,
an
mate. I
excellent
do
dad.
try. I do try.
You're an ace daddy, mate. Ace daddy.
The one thing I was going to say about Dorian is I spoke to his sister on holiday and I was like, "What's Dorian like growing up?" And he's always had his head in the book, totally like academic, just wanting to learn, read. But his favourite game was playing teachers and students, and he'd always be the teacher, and he'd make his sister sit down, and she just remembers from childhood, from like being 4, 5, 6, just always having to write stuff down. So Dorian would make his sister sit down and literally write letters. He would just literally just want to be
I
the
said this
guy.
to Dorian. He said, come up to my office and come with me for a day, and I want you to think about things that I can improve in my business." Obviously, I went there and he's got it dialed, absolutely dialed. But my main feedback to him, because we got there in the morning, we went for Greg's, and then at lunch we went for like Mackie D's, and then we got like a coffee, an energy drink. And I said, "Do you know what I think the most impactful change that you can make is your diet?" And that's like that's my gift to you.
Yeah.
Change it, because that is the most influential thing. Because I'm always dialed on my diet. Because
Yeah, that's. Is your wife got a big influence on that though? Because obviously she's really into her health. Did she like?
well,
She obviously focused
I
to
was
make you
in.
better before.
So the reason when Kelly and I met, it was because I was working in sales, and while I was working in sales, I was selling meal preps in the company that I worked in the office. So I was cooking every night at like 10 p.m. and making macronutrients meals for everyone in the office. I would some days I'd sell like I'd literally like gross like 500 quid a day just in selling meals, and this I'm working in the office on a salary and commission, but I'm selling these meals, just on the fly. And when I left that company, I was going to set up my own gym, and I had all the lease in place, ordered all the kit, etc. And that summer, I went to the US, met Kelly, and I said to coincidentally, we was just talking about like how much we talk about business at the dinner table. When I was single, my first question to anyone that I'd ever met would be, "What do you do for work?" Because if they said like nail technician, no offense to nail technicians, and that was their dream, I'd be like, done. My mind can't take that. But anyway, I said that to Kelly. First thing I said to her, I said, what do you do? And she said, I run a meal prep company and a gym. And at that time, I ran a meal prep company and was opening a gym. So I was kind of in the fitness space before I met her. So we
Working
do.
together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, health is a tough one.
What a weird episode, you know. I didn't think we were gonna. Yeah, we're deep, we're emotional, caring about each other and our upbringings, traumas, and things like that. But at the end of the day, I do think we talk a lot about business and high performance and strategy and all this stuff on this podcast, which obviously we'll continue to do. But it is good to rain check on just where you come from, your state of mind and things like that. Because at the end of the day, if your state of mind's not there, your business is going to fucking suffer massively. And I know that that's just a fact, and everyone will agree with that. If you're not there mentally, your business is going to suffer. So it's good to talk about these things. Hopefully, being an interesting episode for anyone listening. Big love.
If you want to come on a ski trip with us next year, I think we definitely have to arrange the ground up. We'll get Mia to do it, sort it out for us. So do comment if you're up for it, and we'll send you some details. And come along next year for the ride because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll do a big one. We'll get 5 solid days of skiing in next time. 4 is just that little bit
Definitely.
short.
Yeah,
We'll
one
get
extra
5
day
in.
would have been perfect.
But for everyone listening, we release these episodes every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. on Spotify and YouTube. And look, if you are enjoying this podcast, thank you very much for watching. But share it, share it with other people who might also find it interesting in the property space. We're trying to be as useful as we can with our time and with any knowledge that we do have between us. Hopefully, you found this one interesting. If you like hearing about this sort of stuff, like we could talk about it again. I don't know how often we'll talk about this sort of stuff, but next week we'll get back to some practical business stuff and need to update some stuff that's happening in the market, particularly Bitcoin. The US has now pledged a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And obviously, me and Stu have been banging on about this for the last few months since it got announced that Trump was in. And now that's sort of
Lots of beautiful Bitcoin.
a lot of Bitcoin.
Lots of beautiful Bitcoin.
Bitcoin has started the year well, and that is for anyone out there who thinks Bitcoin, it's risky, the government, this and that. Like, is that risky? Well, there's your sort of evidence that if the US is backing it and going to make it a strategic reserve, that's just for the world, that's a game changing moment. So very cool. Other stuff's happening in the market as well, so we'll talk about that next week. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.
Roundup sound